never wanted Trump. I'm joined right now by Republican strategist Matt Schlapp, chairman of the American Conservative Union, as well as MSNBC political analyst David Corn of Mother Jones, and Colleen McCain Nelson, White House correspondent for the Wall Street Journal. First of all, Matt, I know you're going to enjoy this. Lester Holt asked Hillary Clinton, what kind of a campaign are you going to run? Is it going to be a campaign of matching insults? She said, no insults, just the issues. The two issues being, quote, the fact that Donald Trump is unqualified to be president of the United States, right, and he's temperamentally unfit. These are the issues. But right, she's not talking insults. Matt, I get a feeling this is going to be so's your old man all the way to November. So's your old man is going to be the theme of this campaign on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that everybody knows going into this that when you have candidates with these astronomically high negatives, that each candidate will only win if they can make the other person unacceptable. And I think Hillary Clinton did that. I actually think she performed well last night. But her whole campaign is really not so much about her. It is about the fact that Donald Trump is someone who is inconsistent with kind of like the American ideal, and people should not support him.
Let me go to David on this. You know, I remember Saul Alinsky's advice to all of us as young people was, I know some sides are complicated. In fact, both sides are complicated of any fight. No side's pure, Simon Pure. But when you go into a fight, you got to act as if your side's Simon Pure and the other side's no damn good, okay? But I'm going to try to keep my head clear in this campaign, and my head clear will be clear with regard to Hillary Clinton. We've watched her for 40 years. We know her. We know her foibles, her inadequacies, her lack of sort of confidence in just saying it out there what's going on. Trump, we're going to have that pretty easy, I think, keeping clear his foibles. The Republican Party is now going to name somebody for their nomination who they know for sure has real problems. This may be the first time this has happened, when they know crystal clear the guy's got some serious ethnic problems, the way he talks about people. Whatever his heart is saying to him, it comes off bad. And I think it is complicated sometimes. But here, we're going to know this guy's problems from day one.
Well, Trump's making it very uncomplicated. I mean, he doesn't talk about policy. He doesn't issue policy statements. And he does traffic mainly in insults and passions and anger. And I think it's not just that my pal Matt saying that he's inconsistent with the American ideal. I think Hillary Clinton is making a case that a lot of Republicans agree with now, and a lot of conservatives agree with, that Donald Trump can't handle the job, that he lies beyond the norm of politicians. I'm not saying Hillary Clinton always tells the truth. He's erratic, and he's a bigot, and he makes racist remarks. I mean, what else do you want to disqualify a guy? And I'm sorry, I say this to all my Republican pals out there. I have a few that, this has been going on for years now with Donald Trump. You let him in the tent. You embraced him. Mitt Romney embraced him in 2012, and you basically, said to your base, here's what you really want. And now you're having buyer's remorse. It's way too late. He's going to drive apart the party, and he's going to make life, I think, a lot easier for Hillary. He's giving Democrats a very strong and clear organizing principle. Keep this guy away from the nuclear button.
You know, the United States doesn't have clean hands when it comes to racial problems or racial attitudes or racism itself. We know when you have slavery for 250 years, that's racism. It just is. It's domination by white people of another group. Anyway, Trump on Friday referred to an African-American audience member in the possessive form, the genitive, calling him my African-American. Let's see that again because it gets worse.
I want to find out what's going on with him. You know what I'm... look at my African-American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest?
Well, the greatest after calling him my. Anyway, last night he again referred to African-Americans in the possessive form, this time calling them our African-American people. Let's watch.
We're going to rebuild our inner cities, which are absolutely a shame and so sad. We're going to take care of our African-American people that have been mistreated for so long.
Our African-American people. Okay, you read that yourself. You listen to that and see how it sounds to you. Anyway, here's how Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona took issue with Trump's choice of words and what he said today about Trump.
The reference to our African-Americans, it's just, you got to think that people bristle at that.
Do you bristle at that?
Yeah, I do. And I can't imagine what it would be like for African-Americans. I want to see a Republican in the White House. But I can tell you, given the positions that Mr. Trump has taken so far, he's not going to get there.
A tad, let's put a light touch on it, because I don't jump on people like this all the time. But paternalistic, I would say, something like that. You might say, Matt, paternalistic, our, your thoughts. Are we reaching for something here, or is this a bad way he talks?
Is that aimed at me, Chris?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
You're the home team.
Okay, great. I understand.
You're the home team. Explain.
Look, this is incredibly inartfully worded, but when he turned to that this African-American, he called him my African-American. If he had ended that sentence in my African-American supporter, I still think it's inartful and not a good way to word it. I think this is a little bit of a cheap shot. I think he's using words.
Wait a minute, cheap shot by whom? By people who have called attention? Jeff Flake. Jeff Flake, fellow Republican, a senator from Arizona, is picking a point here, or is he hear something that he knows is problematic to African Americans? We'll get some more guests on tomorrow to talk about a more diverse group than this group, but as we should. But you don't think it's a problem in itself. It's just something that somebody's picking on.
I think the fact that if the result from these two statements about referring to African Americans in the audience or referring to African Americans is somehow like he is racist against African Americans, I think is too far. I think that the wording that he chose can allow people to mock him, and in conjunction with what he said about this judge, which was also a disparaging comment that I think a lot of people have been offended by and was a terrible comment. I think when they're trying to push this all together and say, look, this guy is unacceptable on racial terms, and I think Hillary Clinton will do the same. I think that that's unfair.
Okay, well, go ahead. Let me go to Colleen. Take some time. Tell me what you think of this, because I do think it's all contextual. If Trump had never said what he said about Mexicans being rapists coming across the border, if he'd never talked disparagingly as he has about Muslim people, and a lot of this background noise that we all have in our head right now, I'm not sure people would be jumping on him for the use of certain terms like our, or even the way when after a judge we think he got riled up against him because he's been attacking the man's people from his heritage, going after Mexicans, calling them rapists. Well, and then the guy's a Mexican-American. You go, oh, my God, he might be mad at me. But you can't – people are not giving Trump the benefit of the doubt on that because they've heard everything he said. And it's so ethnic, it's hard to get through the thicket of it and say, maybe he does have a good heart. Your thoughts, Colleen. Take some time.
Right. So if he just said something like this once, and you could say that was a verbal hiccup, he didn't mean it, everyone misspeaks, but as he continues to say these things, it starts to edge closer to being a pattern, and you know that it kind of compounds on all these other things that we know about, and we know about the charges of racism against the judge, and you can't separate out that context. And I think that what really makes Republicans nervous is that Donald Trump has really shown an unwillingness to learn from his mistakes, to ever admit that he misspoke or to take it back, and he just keeps saying the same things over and over again. And so if he says this once, he very possibly could say this 100 more times, and he just seems to struggle to describe ethnic groups in just kind of normal terms. I mean, he always says the Hispanics instead of just saying Hispanics.
Chris, can I?
Yeah, somebody.
Can I jump in here real fast? Which
quickly,
is,
both of you guys.
I do think that Donald Trump realized he made a mistake. I think that's why he read off teleprompters last night. I think that he's realized that he has been way off message. Talking about this case in California is a big mistake. So I actually think it's wrong to think that he somehow doesn't see this as a problem. I think he saw it as a problem. He's trying to self-correct.
But he won't call it a mistake, and I have to say, all these things that he's done, from the birther movement on to all the misogynistic remarks he's made, it's not a bug in the system. This is a feature of the system. People, his supporters get out there and they say, we support him on this. We support him when he goes after the... 60% of Republicans say they don't believe what he said about calling the American a Mexican was racist. 60% of Republicans back him up on this.
We got to close shop here. Let me go back to Colleen. I know you work on one side of the firewall, the reporting side of the Wall Street Journal, not the editorial side. But I know the editorial side has been pounding this guy. Is there a chance that the establishment wing of the Republican Party, the neocons and all the other people that can't stand Trump, I mean, everybody against him now, it seems, can they knock him out of the nomination at this point, or is it over?
It's pretty much over, because you go back to the same question that we've had again and again. If not Trump, then what? And Republicans haven't been able to settle on anyone else. They haven't been able to come up with a viable plan. And even when there was time to do this and it was reasonable to try to execute it, Republicans couldn't agree on someone else. They couldn't figure out how to go about this. And so 6 weeks away from the convention, when he's already secured all the delegates he needs, I don't know how you wrest that away from him and say, we're going to start over.
I think you're right. Anyway, thank you, Matt Schlapp.